I have another great author interview for you today. Hi, I'm Judy Waters. Welcome to my channel. Here I bring you author interviews of ordinary people who had a story they needed to share with the world. I also bring you short little writing prompts so you can get your stories written down for your generation to come. Because you know what? You have a story to tell, so let me help you tell it. Today I have Evelyn Leite. She's an author, counselor, and trainer with 28 years of experience in the addictions and mental health fields. She's highly regarded for her seminars in multicultural counseling and education. She gives special attention to issues with people from varying cultural and ethnic backgrounds. She's designed and implemented many family programs and is proficient in spiritual and gift counseling. A family systems therapist since 1980, Evelyn incorporates feelings and compassion in the therapeutic relationship with a wide range of experience in chemical dependency, addictions, codependency, domestic abuse, sexual and spiritual abuse. She is noted for having attained success in trauma resolution, anxiety, and depression. As an author, she's published 8 books as well as a multitude of articles on the topics of addiction, codependency, grief, abuse, trauma, recovery, and more. In 2008, she was installed in the South Dakota Hall of Fame for her humanitarian work. Evelyn's part of the Authors Guild, America's oldest and largest professional organization. So, let me introduce to you Evelyn Leite. Good morning, Evelyn. How are you?
I'm just fine, thank you.
Well, I'm so excited that you agreed to allowing me to interview you. My audience is very excited, I'm sure, when that just to hear about your books. Let me ask you this. When did you start writing, and what do you think inspired you to write?
I've always written, haven't always been published, but I've always written. Even as a teenager, I would journal and write things down and fiddle with poetry and things like that. But my first book I actually wrote in the 1980s was because I was working in the Department of Alcoholism for the state of South Dakota. And I came there to that job as someone who lived with a battering alcoholic. And many people asked me questions and I couldn't answer them all. So I thought, okay, I'll write a book and then I'll hand it out and that will answer all their questions. So I did that.
Okay, all right. I've read some of your background. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, as you can see, I'm older than a lot of other authors. I've been working for a long time. I've been in the field of addictions for 40 years. And I've worked with many, many clients all across the country, even in Canada. I have 14 books, and most of them are designed to help people get through whatever struggles they are facing.
Okay.
But they're also designed to help people understand the disease of addiction, because that never changes. It is the same forever. Back in the 1940s, when my father was an alcoholic, up to now, when other people's families are alcoholic, the disease doesn't change. How we deal with it changes sometimes. But also, I've overcome, and thanks to God, because I know without him, I wouldn't even be alive. I have overcome my own addiction. I have overcome breast cancer. I have had 4 strokes, one major one that took my eyesight. And recently I have gotten through a very severe case of COVID, which has left my voice a little scratchy, and I tend to cough more than I ever used to. I am a mom. I have 3 grown sons and 2 grown stepchildren. I'm a grandmother, and between us, we have 14
Oh,
grandchildren,
wow.
and I have great-grandchildren, 4 of them. So I keep very busy.
I guess so. We just had our second grandchild, and I mean, they're just gorgeous. I just love that grandparenting.
Yes.
Best time of my life, really.
Yep.
So, and 14, oh my goodness. Oh, that's awesome.
Keep us busy.
Yes, yes. So what encouraged you? You have this series of Blood, Sex, and Tears. What encouraged you to write that as a series?
Well, there's a lot of people that don't understand what it's like for a child living in a home where there is addiction. And wherever there is addiction, there's abuse, even if it's only neglect.
Mm.
A lot of people don't understand what that's like. A lot of children act out in school and wherever else they are, and no one really looks into their background. They just label them a disturbed child, or they don't even always label them troubled. They label them mean and uncooperative and antisocial. And as a counselor, I'm very against labels, because a lot of those labels come from things that people haven't investigated.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. And I understand they're all memoir.
Our memoirs.
So as I tell my audience, you have to pick a time. Memoir is not an autobiography. I was born, and then this happened, and this happened, this happened. But it's more of a specific time of your life that that intertwines with other people in your life. So your first book that you republished in 2019, what does that cover?
That's To Be Somebody.
Yes. Okay.
It covers my life with an alcoholic husband who was mostly a verbal batterer,
Okay.
but also physical in some instances.
All right. And then book 2?
Book 2 is, Just Fine, Thank You, which is what I just told you when you asked me how I was. Because this covers the 1940s and 50s.
Okay.
And it covers the first 13 years of my life with my father, who was an alcoholic. He wasn't physically abusive, but he could be verbally abusive, and he was gone a lot because
Okay.
And so that covers also historical, what it's like to grow up on a farm with no electricity, no bathroom, no running water. And, there's good aspects and aspects that aren't so great. And this book covers those historical aspects, covers my memories of the Second World War, which are limited, but I definitely have memories of what happened then. And a lot of the trauma about the 40s, because my parents had come through a depression. And
oh, sure.
So, yeah. So this book is about my memories of my childhood.
Okay. And then your other book in that series?
This one, Dance Like There's No Tomorrow.
Yes. Can you hold it up just a little bit? Yeah. Very nice. Okay. And what does that cover?
My teenage years.
Okay.
And as a teenager, I was very wild and rebellious and hated God because I thought he was the reason for all our problems. And he wasn't answering my prayers. And so it just covers my rebelliousness then.
Okay. Can you tell me what would you want if a person purchases your books, reads all 3? What is your desire for them to take away from this for their own lives?
I really want them to see that in spite of difficulties and hardships, if they just hang in there, things can turn out well. But this book, which is part of this series also, Women, What Do We Want?
Okay.
Is written to help women understand they have value, they have worth. They don't have to tolerate abuse. They don't have to sell their self down the river for a family that doesn't appreciate them. That it kind of teaches them how to stick up for themselves. And because a lot of women have trouble sticking up for themselves.
Yes, they stay in abusive relationships, just because it's a place of being, I guess. I'm not sure.
Well, there's a lot of complicated reasons, but part of it is nobody ever taught them that they had value.
Wow.
So if you don't have any value, it doesn't matter where you go.
Right. So, I think you've already covered this. I know you've already covered it. My next question was, who is your audience?
People everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah.
I get a lot of calls from people who have read my books asking, what do I do? How can I help my child who is addicted? Okay. What can I tell my family? I just get a lot of calls and questions.
Okay. How did it feel, Evelyn, to write out your journey and then read your own story back to yourself? How did that make you feel? Excuse me. It
clarified things for me a lot.
Okay.
It shows me not just how far I've come, but also it shows me that when you're 5 years old, you're not at fault for anything. And I always thought I was. It clarifies what my part in the trouble was in my abusive relationship. It just clarifies a lot of things when you write your memoir and you put everything down in black and white. In fact, I wrote a book 40 years ago that's still in print, and it's called Detachment. And it was printed by Hazelton Treatment Center. They still sell it. And it's because back in those days, I went to Al-Anon, and in that meeting, they kept saying, detach, detach. And I kept saying, fine, what is it? So I decided to sit down and write it out and see if I could figure out what it was. So it's been in print all these years.
Yeah, I'm sure that a lot harder than just saying detach yourself. That's harder to do for a lot of people.
Yep.
So are there any other books that you have that you'd like to mention?
I wrote a book called Mending the Family Rift When Addiction is There. And it was written for people who have somebody who's gone to treatment and they don't know what to do when they get home.
Okay.
So I wrote that book for that audience. It sells quite a few too, because there are a lot of people, especially during these pandemic years, addictions just took off. And it's like the families just kind of left flopping in the wind. Now the addicts had help, but what does the family do? So that's what this book is for.
That's true. That's true. So besides being an author, you're also a counselor, trainer, family systems therapist. So what now for Evelyn Leite? Another book or what?
I'm working on the 4th book in this series, actually the 5th book in this series.
Okay.
Which covers my reconnection with God and how I found him, actually how he found me, and how I had to fight a lot of forces in order to get there. Because as you know, if you're really struggling to connect with God, there's always going to be a force that's going to try to get in your way. And so that's what this 4th book is about.
Good. Wow. I definitely want to get a couple of your books. Yeah, and I know people I would love to gift them to also. So,
All right.
yeah. So tell me, Evelyn, what advice would you give to first-time authors? Because a lot of time I have authors, or my audience is basically memoir writers, or they're wannabe memoir writers. They haven't done it yet. So what advice would you give to these people?
Just sit down and start writing.
Just do it.
Just do it. When I started, I was up against a lot of opposition because it took me away from my husband and my mother, and both of them were used to me being available. And I had a portable typewriter, and I got it out and I started clacking away, and no matter what they wanted, I just kept writing, and they got mad at me. I mean, and it's people they want your time. They want to be able, even now, if people know I'm home, they'll drop in. I am in the middle of writing, and so a lot of times I don't answer my phone, or I don't let people know I'm home, because people, for some reason, do not take writing seriously.
That's true.
It's like, well, she's just on her computer. She can take a break.
That is so true. That's so true. But it does take you into a different mindset or a different zone. And if you sometimes I'll get taken to this email or that email, and I just need to put blinders on.
Really, you have to really focus. But for first-time writers, I would say don't let anything stop you.
Right.
People will try to discourage you. They will say, I'm going to write a book someday. No big deal.
Put a sign on their bedroom door and say, writer at work.
Yeah, leave me alone.
Leave me alone, yeah. Well, thank you, Evelyn. I appreciate you taking this time. And I know my audience have really enjoyed this. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's an honor. I will go look up your blog and start using your writing prompts.
Oh, good. All right. Well, thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
You enjoyed our interview with Evelyn today. She is a woman with lots and lots of knowledge about trauma, about all different topics, especially addiction. So here's your writing prompt for today. This may not be the easiest thing to write, but it may be written only for your own eyes. Think back at childhood, middle school, high school, throughout your life. Have you ever known a person with an addiction? Any kind of addiction? Perhaps you yourself have suffered with an addiction of one sort or another. Write about it. If it's another person, write about your relationship with that person. Was anything resolved? Did that person get better? Write about your feelings. How did you feel through that time? What did you hear that person say? What did you see that happened? Did other people gather around that person and try to help? Write it out. If it is your own story, then it really does help to get that all out on paper. Write about your feelings towards other people at that time. I can't tell you to have fun with this writing prompt, but I will tell you that it has helped so many people to get their own thoughts written down on this situation or on this issue. If you enjoy receiving author interviews or writing prompts like this one, well, this was both, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Press that little bell there, click that little bell so you're notified of every time I bring out another video, author interview, or a writing prompt. So, and of course, please let me know what you think about the author interviews. I love to get feedback. So, have a great day, and remember, you have a story to tell. So let me help you tell it.